Hi guys, welcome to lesson 2.7, solving proportions. Our objective for the day is that I can solve and apply proportions. Our essential understanding is that if two ratios are equal and a quantity in one of the ratios is unknown, you can write and solve a proportion to find the unknown quantity. So a proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equal. A is to B as C is to D. We write it as two fractions. A over B equals C over D. We're going to learn about the strategies used to solve these proportions. All right. Our first strategy is going to be using the multiplication property. So to do this, we are simply going to multiply by whatever is in the denominator with our variable. So we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by 7. Our 7s are going to cancel out on the left. You're left with x is equal to 7 times 4 is 28 over 5. And that is not a fraction that you can reduce, so you're fine just leaving it as 28 over 5. Okay, letter B. We have 6/5 is equal to x over 15, so we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 15. So we know that the right side simplifies to just being x. The left side we simplify is going to be 18. Okay. Why don't you guys give letters A and B in the You Try a shot, and we'll go over it. All right, so for letter A, we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 21. And one of the things we can do when we're multiplying fractions, we could think about reducing these. So 21 is made up of 7 times 3. 28 is 7 times 4. So we could say that that is 4 and that is 3. 3 times 20 is 60 divided by 4 is 15. So just simplify some of our math a little bit on these kinds of problems. Okay. Letter B, we have 5/6 is equal to x over 11. We multiply both sides of the equation by 11. That side cancels out, and we get 55 over 6. Okay. Now you'll use the multiplication property when the variable that you're trying to isolate is in the numerator of one of your two ratios, and it is by itself. Okay. All right. Our new property we're going to learn is the cross product property of a proportion. And what this states is that our cross products, cross multiplication, are going to be equal. So if A over B is equal to C over D, then A times D, this cross, is equal to B times C. Okay? Because if you think about this, if we multiplied both sides of the equation by B, we would have A is equal to BC over D. Multiply both sides by D, that'll take out the denominator there. AD is equal to BC. All right, so we're going to move on to problem number 2, which is solving a proportion using the cross product property. So the first thing we need to do is to cross multiply. So I always draw an X through my equal sign to tell me that I'm cross multiplying. The time we want to use this is when X is in our denominator or in a multi-step proportion, which is problem 3. So let's do this. We've got 5 times x is 5x. 6 times 11 is 66. Now I always put the variable term first. You could have 66 equals 5x. It means the exact same thing. All right, so now divide both sides by 5. And x is equal to 66/5. We can just leave that as a fraction. Okay. Letter B, we're going to do the cross multiplication again. So we have y times 3, which is 3y, is equal to 3 times 5, which is 15. Solve the equation. Divide both sides by 3. Y equals 5. Okay. Letter C, cross multiply. We get 2x is equal to 40. Divide both sides of the equation by 2, and x is equal to 20. So why don't you guys give the next 3 a try and check back for the answers. Okay, so we have 3 times y, which is 3y, is equal to 1 times 15, which is 15. Divide both sides of the equation by 3, and y is equal to 5. Letter B, 16 over 7 equals 9 over b. Cross multiply. We get 16b is equal to 63. Divide both sides by 16. And b is equal to 63 over 16. You can just leave it as a fraction. That's just fine. Last one, letter C. We have 6a is equal to 56. Divide both sides by 6. And a is equal to, well, this is a fraction that I can reduce. I can divide both the numerator and denominator by 2. So I get 28 over 3, which is as far as I can reduce. Now I told you that another time we're going to use cross multiplication is when we have multi-step proportions. So our variable is either not all by itself or there's variables on both sides of the equal sign. So we're going to start by cross multiplying like we have. So we have 6x is equal to, and I'll just write it, 5 times the quantity, 2x plus 4. So now I need to use the distributive property, 5 times 2x and 5 times 4. So we have 6x is equal to 10x plus 20. Okay. We're going to subtract 10x from both sides. So negative 4x is equal to 20. And we're going to divide by negative 4. So x is equal to negative 5. Okay. Letter B. Start by cross multiplying. So now we have 5 times x minus 2 is equal to 3 times x plus 3. We need to distribute. So 5 times x is 5x minus 5 times 2 is 10 equals 3x plus 9. Okay. Next up, we need to get our variables on the same side, so I subtract 3x from both sides. So I have 2x minus 10 is equal to 9. We're going to add 10 to both sides. So 2x equals 19. Last step, divide both sides by 2, and x equals 19 halves. Okay, letter C. Cross multiply, we have 2 times w plus 3 equals 4w. Distributive property. 2w plus 6 is equal to 4w. Subtract 2w from both sides. 6 is equal to 2w. And we are going to divide both sides by 2. So 3 is equal to w. Okay. Why don't you give the next 3 a try, and we will come back with the answers. So we're going to start by cross multiplying. 2 times 3 is 6 is equal to 1 times the quantity x plus 1. So 6 equals x plus 1. Subtract 1 from both sides. 5 is equal to x. Letter B, cross multiply again. We're going to have 6 times x minus 3 is equal to 14 times 7 is 98. Okay. Distributive property, 6x minus 18 is equal to 98. We're going to add 18 to both sides. 6x is equal to 116. Divide both sides by 6, and x is equal to 58 thirds. Now, if you wrote that as a decimal, it could be 19.33 repeating. Letter C, cross multiply. 5 times x plus 2 is equal to 18. Distributive property, 5x plus 10 is equal to 18. Subtract 10 from both sides. 5x is equal to 8. Divide both sides by 5, and x is equal to 8/5. Okay. Moving on to the next page. Using a proportion to solve a problem. And if you'll note, I said be careful to make sure that your units in the numerator and denominators match. So, we've got an 8-ounce can of orange juice that contains 97 milligrams of vitamin C. How many milligrams of vitamin C are there in a 12-ounce can of orange juice? All right, so I'm going to set up my proportions. I know that there is 97 milligrams in 8 ounces. I want to know proportionally how many milligrams are there in 12 ounces. Notice I have milligrams per ounce, okay? So, if we want this ratio to be true, we are going to use the multiplication property. So we're going to multiply both sides by 12. All right? And when you multiply that, you're going to plug it into your calculator. You get 145.5 milligrams is equal to x. Now you'll notice I was very deliberate about putting my variable in the numerator. Why did I do that? It saves me a step. I don't have to cross multiply if all I have to do is get this denominator to go away. I only have to multiply by 12. I mean, you could set it up ounces over milligrams. You could set it up as milligrams and milligrams and ounces. As long as you are making sure you are being careful about the numerators and denominators matching one another, you can do that. All right, so letter B, we have the blueprint for a house states that 2.5 inches equals 10 feet. And we want to know if the length of a wall is 12 feet, how long is the wall on the blueprint? So we're going to start off with a ratio. Again, I want to know, I want to know how many inches is a 12-foot wall. And that's going to be equal to, I am told that 2.5 inches is a 10-foot wall. All right, so again, I put the variable in the numerator very specifically. So I can multiply both sides of the equation by 12. And I'm going to find out that 12 times 2.5 divided by 10 is going to be 3 inches is equal to x. Okay. Problem C. Seth earns $152 in 4 days, and we want to know at that rate how many days will it take him to earn $532. So we have $152, 4 days. How many days earn $532? So I'm going to set that up. 4 days over $152 is equal to x days over $532. So now I just need to multiply both sides of my equation by 532. And I find that x is equal to 14 days. Okay. Lastly, letter D. A research study shows that 3 out of every 20 pet owners got their pet from a breeder. And we want to know, of the 102 animals cared for by a vet, how many would you expect to have been bought from a breeder? All right. So I start off my ratio. I know that I have 3 pets out of every 20. And I want to know how many pets out of 122. Multiply both sides by 122. And we get approximately 18.3. So you would expect there to be about 18 pets bought from a breeder. Now, what will you notice about all of my answers on this page? Well, I made sure that I included my units, which you guys need to include as well. All right, that's the end of our lesson for today. Make sure you fill out your level of understanding, write down any questions you may have come up with as we went along, and please do make sure to write your summary. See you all in class tomorrow.